Do let me tell you, she said one evening while she brushed my hair. I always wanted a little sister growing up. That's how I think of you. Does that make sense? I shrugged. It was nice of her, and it felt so relaxing to let her touch my hair like that. She wasn't waiting for a response anyway. By now she knows better. She just keeps talking kindly to me. She's not going to say anything. I am sorry, I'm not really ready to talk about him. Not beyond what I wrote in my diary. It's just too hard. He didn't, we never, it's not as if we had conversations. You think our relationship is one-sided? You have no idea. Anyway, here, I can give you some more. There's an entry from Jai Hua in there. She did talk to him. She was, well, a lot stronger than I ever was. So you can see for yourself why I admired her. And, well, just read them, alright? These aren't new entries, right? Yeah, these, like, if whatever I pick, it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be the same entries, yeah. Ryu Jai Hua, illiterate. July 13, year 321. Excuse me, I want to sneeze. Excuse me. I'm a double sneezer, so I had to wait a little bit and sneeze twice. The more she lives in my house, the more I am confused by the mystery that is the Pale Bride. No wonder why my husband has been favoring the Kim family lately. Their daughter seems to be the perfect woman. She's not simply a pale beauty, she's always too shy to speak at all, let alone argue. Seems to hang off his every word, and it turns out is actually so completely humble in her education that she cannot even read. I think she can read, but I don't think she can read whatever language they developed. I think that's the case. Makes me wonder what actually happened that erased all of that, all of these things that happened. Or rather, she cannot read normal characters. I have observed her writing to herself in perhaps what may be a diary. When I asked what it was, she wouldn't say, but was quick to hide it. I could not recognize a single character on her screen. However, they seemed simplified compared to regular writing. Perhaps she has invented a writing system just for herself? It's very strange. Did you ever receive those letters I sent to your house before you arrived? I asked her, curiously. Seemingly she had. Did you read them? Her response was worried, as if she was scared that I would be angry to find out that she hadn't. I was not, of course. I'm sorry. I had assumed. Are you able to read? That was when I found out that she wasn't. I offered to read them to her, to which she seemed quite enthusiastic. I think I am likely to leave out some parts. However, I had enough difficulty bringing myself to writing the more embarrassing parts of the family history, bringing myself to talk about them, even if I know she would never say anything, is just far too much. Like all things with her, I cannot tell whether her enthusiasm is sincere or an effort to make me happy. This troubles me. Of course I wasn't illiterate. I could read just fine. Just not their stupid Chinese-based characters. I mean, I can understand them now, everything except for my diary entries. Except for my diary entries is translated from them. It's such a dumb way of writing, though. It makes everything come out so stilted compared to proper Korean. Well, anyway, you're showing me that because you're interested in her in her admonitions. Admonitions, sorry. I am. Then here, I'll just give you the letters she sent. They'll give all the details, even the ones she was too embarrassed to tell me about it at the time. You can probably guess which parts she cut out. It's pretty obvious. It's the incest thing that she never told me about at the time. Incest? Having read about it now, I don't really blame her. And well, here, you can see what I mean for yourself. Incest? Incestia? It was in block 10? It's all goes to one day, huh? They have all been sent in one day. I'm gonna read them later. Nothing new, alright. Muteness. The Pale Bride. October 2nd, year 321. Dear Diary, I've been thinking a lot about how close my death must be now. Lately I've been getting prone to fainting spells. It probably goes right along with my diminishing appetite. If the doctor from the past was right, I've still got over a year left to live, maybe more. He said it wasn't very likely to get bad enough to kill me until I was at least 18. Although maybe all those years in stasis might have changed that. I don't know. But if he was right, and if I haven't lost track of time, I'm 16 and I'm 16 and a half right now. And there's still a while. I've been trying to hide the signs of sickness, even if I could explain. I know full well that nobody would believe me. So far hiding it has been mostly working, although I did have one of the fainting spells while my husband was on top of me. He wasn't angry at me though. I don't think he cared. I know all I write about these days is with my husband and conversations with his wife. The Kim family would be proud, I guess, but those two things are all that's really worthwhile in my life. I have other responsibilities, of course. They are just not that interesting, and that's about it. Anyway, the Queen has continued to be nice to me. She finally figured it out, where we were having tea together. One afternoon, she was talking about nothing in particular, and she asked me some question that I just shrugged to. That I just shrugged to. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but she then said, "But there is something I would like to ask you." I nodded. "I don't think I ever heard your voice before." I nodded again. "Why don't you ever speak to me? Are you just saving that for the Emperor?" I didn't know how to respond. She was so close to getting it, to bringing up the subject it wasn't able to. Yet that wasn't the right question. So I shook my head. And I hope that her next question would be... It was. "Then, Hyun-ai," she said uncertainly, "are you mute?" I felt like screaming yes at the top of my lungs. I was so happy that she'd finally figured it out. She's mute? How? What? No, that's not true. What? Huh? Qui? I felt like screaming yes at the top of my lungs. I was happy that she finally figured it out. I smiled and was about to nod enthusiastically, but suddenly I stopped. What if she thought less of me if I said yes? If she knew that the reason I was so quiet and demure wasn't because of any sort of discipline. Those were the things people liked about me. Do not tell me. Oh, I think I get it. I think they cut out her tongue. This is something that used to happen in China, in old China too. And by old China, I mean usually most likely in pre-Gregorian China. This used to happen back in the day. Is that why? Did they cut out her tongue? If she knew that the reason I was so quiet and demure wasn't because of any sort of discipline, those were the things people liked about me. Would she stop liking me if she knew? What if she told my husband? I was so terrified I couldn't think of any correct answer. If I said no, I am sure she would have asked to hear what my voice sounded like, and I'd be forced to disobey. And if I nodded, and then she'd know I wasn't really just trying hard to be a good wife. And I'm sure she would talk to my husband about it, so he'd know too. But while I stared at her in terror, thinking of how to respond, she sighed and sipped her tea. "Don't worry about it," she said. "You don't have to answer. Please, do forget that I even asked." You know, nobody ever noticed that until her. Nobody cared. Nobody ever thought any of it, or cared enough about me to find out. But she did care. She actually paid attention. She was great. Yeah, but you spoke before. Listen, lady, you spoke before. Lady, you spoke before. Lady, you spoke before. You spoke before. You spoke before. Lady, 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 you spoke before. Arguing the Emperor. Arguing the Emperor. Ryu Jaihua. December 29th, year 321st. My concerns over the Pale Bride's condition has grown lately. Lately she seemed to grow even quieter. If such a thing is possible for a mute girl. Well, perhaps saying she is mute is an assumption too far on my part. I tried asking her directly, but she seemed too scared to answer. That simply makes me more suspicious, and I should like to know why. I addressed my husband on the matter, telling him that I wished to speak to the woman of the Kim family house to see if I could find out what is wrong. She shrugged me off. He shrugged me off, saying, "Don't. They're valuable subjects. The son is someone I have my eye on in particular. The politics of this situation are far too delicate for you to be meddling with." I cleared my throat. He might be both my husband and emperor, but I would not let that stop me from being bold. "My dear husband, I don't care. I said flatly, I am worried about the girl, and I believe that talking to her mother might shed some light on the matter. The son is of no concern to me. I don't see why it matters. She's the perfect woman. Why? Are you jealous? He said, rolling his eyes at me. A gesture that he's only been able to use on me and his servants ever since becoming emperor. Nobody had the patience for it when he was a child, and I don't have it now either. Oh. In who? Dearest, do you believe that the well-being of your wife is a political matter, or even an external matter? I asked. He didn't. So, would you say it is a domestic matter? I asked. He reluctantly agreed. Then, as a domestic matter, is it the responsibility of the woman of the house? Is it not? Let me read that again. It is the responsibility of the woman of the house, is it not? Please, tell me. You are obviously more well-read in the classics than I. I said, both of us knowing he wasn't. Fine, he said, but just because it is your responsibility does not mean I can't overrule you. He left silent the follow-up. I don't have to take this from you. You do know that my concerns are valid, though. Here, I replied. If you value my opinion, you will let me speak to the Kim mother. There was a pause, then he raised his hand in annoyance. Very well, do it. It's women's business. I don't want a part in it, regardless. Then he just shook his head. Why must all of our conversations be arguments? I smiled to him and left. He already knows the answer. I never knew about that when we were alive. Like most things, I only found out after I took over the ship's computer. Ooh. Just amazes me even more. Look at her. She's a woman who actually stood up to a man and won. She wasn't clumsy like I was. She knew how to work it from her position. Isn't that so amazing? Why did she have to die? Pale bride. January 28th, year 322. Dear diary, you always forget how terrible it is to cry yourself to sleep until it happens. It's just the ultimate feeling of helplessness. But what's new there, right? I just miss her. Even if she scared me, I miss her so damn much. Jehua was the only one who was sympathetic to me. Why did she have to die? Is that my fate? Anything that makes whatever short life I have left bearable must go? Fate just hates me. I've decided. I don't know what killed her. I overheard one of the servants saying that the doctor claimed it was too much worry, causing an excess of wood in the spleen, which he claimed to be common in oversensitive women. What? I was baffled by the absurdity at the time. I still am now, but my only friend is dead, and her diagnosis is absolutely insane. What do you even say to something like that? Well, I guess it's not like I need to worry about knowing what to say. But in light of that, it doesn't surprise me that nobody ever believed I was sick. With medicine that stupid, why would they? All it does is reinforce how hopeless everything is. I just constantly wonder, why did my father or my own doctor think that people would be smarter than the future? That makes sense, actually. That medicine would be better. My servant has been helping... Yeah, she wants to talk to me. My servant has been helping me get through all the funeral stuff. Well, I mean, she's been guiding me through the rites, particularly doing them for me. Really, I am so weak and so stunned. I don't even know how I've been getting out of bed. I couldn't describe any of the ceremony. It's all a blur. There's been lots of black dress. I suppose that's my only impression. And crying, lots of crying, from me. Did we ever find? Did we ever find what killed her, actually? Do you trust me? I'll try. Please understand my position at the time. My world was so small, and I just lost my only friend. And then I'll give you my last 2 diary entries. They have the whole story. Just please, don't judge me while you read them, please. What are the last 2 entries, though? I'll kill them all, back to hell. Okay. Block 6. Yeah, I'll read those later. Martial Admonitions, Part 1. Driu Jaihua. To the woman who will marry my husband. January 30th, year 321. As you are doubtlessly aware, it is tradition for a nobleman's mother to write poetic admonitions to be sent to the bride-to-be before she enters the family, explaining the circumstances and preferring advice to her. Sadly, your mother-in-law is long since departed, leaving the responsibility in my hands. I never had any such letters sent to me, for reasons which I'll explain soon enough, and I have furthermore studied verse only enough to know that I am unable to write it well. I hope you don't think less of me, young pale bride, for addressing these letters in plain speech. Instead, rather pay attention to my words over my form, and please do not be hasty in erasing these letters after reading. For your own sake, I hope you find the advice and knowledge I will impart on you useful. I never read her letters at the time. I couldn't. I know she read them to me eventually, but I was just numb to that sort of talk at that point. Now they're just hard for me to read. Martial Admissions Part 2. They are the same date, the same year, so I won't repeat that. To the woman who will marry my husband, as you are no doubt aware, the Ryu family has an extremely long and proud history. Every man to hold the title Captain and Emperor has always been of our house, and you are here to make sure that continues for another generation. The name goes all the way back to the ancient times. Mythology speaks of a Captain Ryu who had control of even the ship's movement through the stars themselves. Such things remain far removed from everyday life, but it is important to understand the significance of the house and of the title that your first son will eventually come to inherit. It is an obvious matter that I do have the same family name as my husband. The official story, if you have not already heard it, is that we are cousins, making our marriage improper and less than ideal, but somewhat acceptable given circumstances. Some people think that cousins marrying each other is incest, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. It's a new blood, because when you marry someone, and that someone is not related to you, and then you give birth to someone, that's new blood. That's mixed blood. It's not like marrying your sister or your aunt or your uncle. But no, it's not the same, because there's some new blood there. And even if cousins actually married and give birth to someone, that still makes it a new blood. It's not. I don't think it's incest at all. It does. Though there is an argument against the cousins marrying each other, because there's a higher chance of having genetic birth defects in cousins' marriage. Maybe that's it. Like it's the baby might actually carry the same genes or the same codes for some like genetic disease that usually get lost, you know, in the genetic code when you actually get, you know, you get married with someone that isn't from your family. The chances aren't high, but that's about it. It's all about chance. It might occur. The chances are just high with cousins, and almost guaranteed with even, you know, actual incest, like like uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, parents, if people somewhat go that far. Where did I stop? At the time, there were... Yeah, I'm starting actually, by the way, from here, from people I'm following. At the time, there were no noble daughters who had not already been promised or given away in marriage. And obviously, a girl of any lesser upbringing could not possibly be suited as queen. Hence, cousins would simply have to do. Strictly speaking, this is all true. The part about there not being any noble daughters available is not a misrepresentation, and as far as any official genealogy is concerned, the emperor is the son of my father's brother. The emperor is the son of my father's brother. Okay. A part which you may not speak of openly is that he is the old emperor's son, only by adoption. As far as blood goes, my husband is also my... Oh, shit. As far as blood goes, my husband is also my brother. As children, we never lived together, and it would, of course. Damn. Have been strictly improper to have spent any time together at that age. I would never say anything such as that my husband actually arranged for there to be no noble daughters to marry. Out of his desire to marry me, that would, of course, be a rather bold move to accuse an emperor of such. But you may wish to consider that what an implications might be if such a thing truly did happen. Why would she actually go with that, though? Why would she tell anyone that fact? Why doesn't she omit that? I'll leave it to you to decide whether or not such a thing is plausible. All I say is that, despite our marriage being one of necessity, my husband has always been very fond of me. God damn it. As for responsibilities, your burden will be quite light, can she? Yeah, let's continue with part 4. As for responsibilities, your burden will be quite light. You will, of course, be expected to be the model of feminine virtue. But truthfully, I do not expect you will have very much trouble with this. So long as you keep your head down, avoid scandal, and keep quiet. That will more than suffice. As far as the day-to-day is concerned, you will have nothing to concern yourself with, as this is the royal family you are marrying into. As queen, I run the management of the house's affairs and will not require any assistance from you in that regard. As part of a royal concubine's demonstration of modesty, you will have to share my own personal servant and will not have one of your own. While you will not have to be responsible for all the housework, be modest and do not remain idle at her expense. You are expected to be as unseen as the servants, and to be voiceful only in the most moderation. Do not speak harshly to your servant, and be appreciative of what she does and not incompassionate. Your one sole responsibility will be spending as much time with the Emperor as it takes to produce a son. After you give birth, you will not need to worry about raising him. I will be there to make sure that is all arranged for. Simply make our husband happy, keep out of sight, and give him a son, and you will have no more to worry yourself with. Part 5. The virtue which you are expected to demonstrate are simply those expected of any woman, and given your noble upbringing, I will not condescend to treat you as if you do not already know them quite well. You are expected to be quiet and obedient to me as well as obviously to our husband. Perchance you are scolded, trust my judgment as your elder. I will never act out of anger or spite. If scolded by our husband, always respond with a smile. For your relationship with him must always be warm, and he is a wise man. I do not, however, anticipate such things will be problems. He told me of the interview in which he spoke to you, and had nothing to report at all on your manner of speech, so I trust it was entirely proper and polite. In light of that, I will say nothing further to the matter. As far as ritual obligations go, you have none, save for following in my lead. Both your mother and father-in-law are long dead, so you have no further obligations to them. I had trouble adjusting at first, but I anticipate nothing you could be surprised by. Number 6. I will not tell you to avoid court politics entirely, so long as you do not cause trouble, but I will suggest that you simply watch from a distance. The temptation may exist to meddle, especially if you ever talk to the artificial girl, Mute, who lives inside our computer. She is a gossip and a friend of the Smith noble family, and responsible for revealing much of what they try to keep hidden. She may seem fickle, but she does belong to the House of Rio, first and foremost, and is quite loyal. Nevertheless, meddling is not in your best interest. Do not play politics, not only for our sake, or for the sake of being a virtuous wife, but for the sake of your own family as well. They will receive favor, not through any scheming on your part, but through our husband's will. Entertain yourself with gossip if you wish, so long as you keep quiet about it. But stay out of politics. In the end, you will manage to go much further if you rely only on rewards for being a good wife. This is the last, this is the last entry. To the woman who will marry my husband, But please, do not think that all of this is meant to you to say you will be unloved. You may be a second wife, but you are still the daughter of a noble house, and that is a precious gift to the Ryu family. I think we read this already, but I'm gonna reread it again. My husband has faith that you will bring him a son, and this means all the world to him, nor am I jealous for you will relieve a heavy burden on our house, and for that I am grateful. As proof of this affection for you, let me share with you the one secret which I have been permitted to tell only you. So she couldn't actually have the access to the terminal with this? In honor of you, my husband, in his capacity as captain and emperor, has permanently changed his admin password to your birth name. My new sister, you will be brought into the Ryu family, not as a mere lowly woman, but a symbol of power in the inner chambers. You will not only represent the continuation of the Ryu bloodline by providing him a son, but your very name will represent the power of the captain's computer. Understand this, pale bride. Your duty may be great, but you will be loved.